It's the World Series of Sim Racing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Oh, contact!
It's some contact. Holds on for now. It's Vincent Zora. Colley's going to be able to hold on. 3 wide, 2 wide. Ryan Bird trying to be the hero. He'll door smack once again in the center of the corner. Figure out how to get out of the way. Vinny breaks him. He breaks him across the line. The 15 wins. One last chance. One last opportunity. He's digging. He's climbing. He's right on the bumper. Blocking going to be made. Will there be contact? Here comes Thompson. Check on the outside. We're going to be blocked. Defended. Brian Johnson. O'Beenan will win. Here comes Vincent Sword to the inside. But it's not enough. Brian Johnson wins. And it's going to be the 13 trying his best. He'll hold on. Or will he cross the line? It's Cedric Hunter by a nose. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. Tonight, we give you coverage of the WSSR Cup Series, the final chapter, the final round. Who will be crowned the Season 9 champion? Well, it starts here tonight at North Wilkesboro. Just over a half a mile in distance, this track is going to be the start of a championship round. 6 drivers have fought through the playoff system to have a chance to hoist this Season 9 championship, and they all start here. The first race of 2 after tonight. It's all about who can climb with the most points heading into Las Vegas next week, and then you get to have that final race. But it all starts here, and the points are scrapped to 0 for these 6 drivers. And now it's time to see who can survive the short track of this monster of a course. Thank you so much again for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth, as always on Wednesday nights, is Justin Malarkey. And Justin, it's been a wild season, a lot of ups and downs. After last week's race, we had some surprise drivers that made it into this championship round, but it's finally here. 6 drivers hunt for the championship.
6 drivers hunt, settle it tonight, see what happens next week, see who gets crowned. Tonight, north of Wilkesboro, gonna be exciting to be at this track. It's great, Sam. Last week they got to go to Richmond. Not exactly a similar short track, but close enough, at least to give us an idea on who was faster last week and see if they can apply it this week to this track. But it'll be really fun to see these cars out on this track and how they can handle it and kind of get that idea of what North Wilkesboro back in 1987 would have been like in present day.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro has been ran 3 times in the past. Back in Season 2, it was a very small amount of drivers showing up, but they only had 3 cautions for that race. But in present racing seasons, in Season 6 and Season 7, North Wilkesboro had a caution-filled, eventful night, with 14 cautions being thrown in Season 6, 19 cautions thrown in Season 7. And with the amount of cautions, this track was removed off the schedule. But recently, with switching from the Gen 4 cars to the next gen, the bumpers a little bit more bendable when you give taps to one another, they thought, why not bring it back in for a championship round? We could be seeing some chaos, hurt feelings, bent fenders. At the end of the night, 200 laps of chaos about to start here this evening. 6 drivers enter, and your 6 drivers that are hunting for the championship is going to be Vincent Sora, who's been on a tear, your winner from last week at Richmond. He locked himself in with that win. We also had Cedric Hunter entering into this round after his win at Charlotte to start off the round of 11. And the 4 other drivers joining them, you've got the Season 1 champion of Brian P. Johnson, Gavin Rogers, the lone rookie that made it to this championship run, Zach Hall, who's been looking probably one of the strongest, most consistent drivers in the second half of the season, and Larry Yingling, the 3-time champ, hoping to go for number 4. And another driver that's hoping for some history, Vincent Sora. He's a 2-time champion. He would love to tie Larry Yingling. As these drivers just finished up practice, it's time to enter into qualifying, which this could be one of the most important factors of this evening. 2 of the past 3 winners here at North Wilkesboro got the pole, led the most laps, and ultimately won the race. And we'll see if track position can be the key as qualifying. These drivers have 2 laps to put down their fast time and only 5 minutes to do so. You touch the wall, hit the grass, that time and that lap is invalidated. And you gotta hope you gotta quit another lap in front of you to put down a fast time. But Justin, qualifying is going to be important as we enter in. And some of the drivers of focus, obviously, always got to say his name, Gavin Rogers, who's got the most qualifying runs entering tonight. He's the big factor to watch out for. And also, drivers that got knocked out the previous rounds, what are they going to show? It's going to be another big question. Here's one of those, being Aaron Smith second, trying to warm up those tires to get ready for lap number 1.
Well, warm them up he was doing, Sam. I don't know if he planned that slide in the corner, but he slid through that corner pretty aggressive. Was able to build the speed back up there in turns 3 and 4. See if he can get the grip down here in 1 and 2. You could hear the tires actually squealing. Hearing some great sound effects right there. You get really close to that wall coming out of turns 1 and 2. And you see he locks up that left front right there getting into the corner. So I'm not sure if this is going to be the lap time he wants. We're about to find out what he's going to put down. It's going to be a 19.3, and then he's going to wreck pretty hard.
It was not the lap time he was hoping for. He was hoping for a little bit of extra for Aaron Smith II, but it will be 4th place currently, but he is dropping quite quickly. Danny Cochran in the 2 machine going to be the fastest driver currently. GT Rizari will be out on track, trying to get their time clocked in. Still waiting for some of our top contenders that are hunting in the championship. First going to be Vincent Sora, as he'll bounce to the top, but Brian McCann says no. Ken Campbell also finding some sneaky speed on his second lap up to the top of the board, and seeing that big swing. Who is going to be taking the pole here tonight? Vincent Sora, last time we ran this vehicle at this course, it was the 15 that got the pole, led the most laps, and won the race ultimately. He would love to grab the pole once again, but he's going to come up shy and short. It's going to be Vincent Sora falling to 5th place because Zach Hall wants the pole award for himself. The 32 top of the board. And here's a couple of other drivers trying their hand at it. Larry Yingling in the 67, the 3-time champion of the WSSR, wants number 4, and he's going to need a great run here tonight to prepare for Las Vegas next week. But Larry Yingling, first lap, going to take it easy, starting his lap number 2 now.
How about that 14 GT Irizarry up in 3rd place, 19.175. Seems like the last few weeks GT has really been picking up some pace. We're seeing him on camera a lot more, leading some laps. He was really strong in Atlanta, had a decent run going last week as well, and right now looking like he's going to have a top 5 showing potentially here for qualifying.
Not a bad run at all. Brian McCann also with a strong run for himself. Larry Yingling, though, going to come up shy for that pole award. He'll be up to 2nd place. 5/100ths of a second off of Zach Hall. A couple of other drivers that we still wait for their time. Cedric Hunter, one of those out on track currently with his qualifying on his 2nd lap. We'll see if he can climb up the board. But here's Gavin Rogers, the lone rookie that made it to the championship 6. And I mean, getting a rookie to enter in and win a championship would be incredible to see, especially Gavin Rogers, a driver that we've seen in other leagues that we've broadcasted here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, dominate those series. This has probably been the most competition that he's raced against, and it has been a joy to see Gavin having to up his speed, and he'll do the same thing here tonight. Lap number 1, just trying to build up that momentum for this one crucial lap for the 75.
One crucial lap, see if he can do it. Threw away the first lap, but what's he going to do here on the second one? Got to beat that 19.031. Going to come into turns 3 and 4 here. Will Zach Hall be able to stay on the pole? 75 gets a nice corner. See if he can launch out of here, come into the line. Going to do a 19.072, so he's not going to be able to do it. But he's going to move him to second place, so not a bad spot. He'll be right there on the inside if Zach chooses the outside, and we'll see what happens here with Ryan Kelly.
The biggest shocker of a driver that missed out on the championship 6, Ryan Kelly, trying to play a little bit of spoiler for this round as he exits out of the corner, was 13th on the board on that first lap. Second lap moves up to 4th, and Kelly, again, not a part of our championship 6. You thought he was almost an automatic to get to this point of the playoffs, but got knocked out after getting caught up in a wreck late last week at Richmond. And the 3 redeems himself at least to be inside the top 5 for qualifying. But the driver I'm most shocked by, Zach Hall, putting in the time of the practice, the 32, top of the board as qualifying concludes. What a run for himself. I mean, Justin, Zach's been practiced a lot for Richmond last week, but a championship for the driver that has started the most out of anyone in this WSSR Cup Series. He wants a championship bad for himself.
The viewers heard it live from Zach Hall last week. He put in tons of laps at Richmond. It paid off. Ran really well at Richmond. Said he didn't think Richmond was one of his best tracks out there, but he put in the time and it got him up into the top 5. Running last week consistently, was so fast. Tonight, did it carry over to Richmond? I think it has, because if he practiced as much as he did last week, he picked up a little bit more. Sitting on that front row is going to be so important. And also having that number 1 pit stall, drop the jack, and you're pretty much out of pit road.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, you got to put in the time of the practice. It's going to be critical. It's going to be key. And for all those that made the championship, they've all put the time and effort in. As we take a look at our standings entering tonight, it has been a point of factor of our top 6. They are given extra bonus points, so they have their own spacing over the rest of the field. But your top 6, first round of the playoffs, everyone starts at 0. They're on equal footing with Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Gavin Rogers, Vincent Soar, Larry Yingling. All those extra playoff bonus points that you've gained all throughout this season, they're out the window. And this is the first time, really, Justin, we're going to see all these drivers on the same position point. It's all about who can get the most points from here at North Wilkesboro and at Las Vegas.
Yeah, you just got to get to here next week. Most importantly, you got to have a good race tonight so you feel confident going into next week. I don't think you want to go in next week really far behind because you might just feel let down. But I tell you what, these drivers know that they see from last year, they see from this year. Every point matters. We talk about it. It really does come down to every point. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we had some potential ties next week and had to figure stuff out, Sam.
I mean, if it comes down to a tie for this championship, I think a lot of drivers are going to have some words for why they should be given the tiebreaker, but the stats will be the ultimate tiebreaker if we do have that tie going into next week. But let's take a look at how we got to this point of the season. 2 races left, but it all started with Cedric Hunter's win at Atlanta. Then we've seen the likes of Vincent Soar, Gavin Rogers throwing blows at one another of who was going to be the dominator. Then in the middle of the season is when everything kind of opened up on the fact that it wasn't going to be just a 2-driver dogfight. There were other competition to watch out for. That's when we saw Zach Hall get his couple of wins in the middle of the season. We saw Gavin Rogers get himself back into victory lane once again. Then 2 weeks ago, when we were at Charlotte, Cedric Hunter with the fuel mileage win for himself there at the 1.5 miles. It has been quite a variety of different diverse drivers getting into victory lane here. This second half of the season, though, Justin, it's been a blast to watch.
Oh, it has been, and it's just funny how when you look at some of this, you see all the polls from Gavin Rogers, and it's like he had back-to-back in the beginning, and then he didn't have them for a while, then he got back-to-back again, but he finally only had just one there on August 28th there at Darlington, but he hasn't had a poll since, so it's interesting to just see how the field has kind of adapted and drivers have come and gone with polls and all that, but even with the win columns, it's like we've had a lot of drivers that have won. We've had different ones up there, but more importantly, we've had a lot of races where we weren't even sure who was going to win these races until the end. I know last week Vincent Soar was really fast at Richmond the whole race, but some of these tracks, we've been blessed with just great quality racing coming down to all different types of strategies, and tonight, who knows, this could be a track that could potentially have long green flag runs with the field being only about 20 cars, and it also could become a lot of cautions. I mean, we don't really know how it'll work out, but if it does come into one of those races, Sam, I mean, tires were out here, so it could be fun.
It certainly can be fun. We'll talk about them a lot, but here we're going to go quickly through our pick'ems as we've got our drivers of who we think are going to be drivers to watch out for. I'm going to go with Vincent Sora. Again, we made these picks during practice before qualifying happened. Vincent Sora's been strong here in the past, and that 51 wants to get back into victory lane once again this season to get his 4th. But over to you, Justin. Who is your pick'em for tonight's race?
Oh, I went with the 3, Ryan Kelly, Yin Yang Racing. I think he is going to play spoiler tonight. He's got one goal, I think. His goal is just to go out there and win tonight, win next week, and I think he'll feel happy about his season, even though he can't go for the championship. Definitely a driver to watch out tonight.
Definitely is a driver to watch out for. And then the third member of our group being Robert Moyer Jr. He's going to go with the rookie of Gavin Rogers, who's also aiming to grab his 4th win of the season if he can get it done here tonight. Those are our 3 pick'ems: Vincent Sora, Ryan Kelly, Gavin Rogers. We hope for the best for all those drivers here this evening as we are about to get started for tonight's race. North Wilkesboro, 200 laps. We have a stage break at the end of lap 50. No fast repairs here this evening. 4 extra sets of tires to work with. And the fuel mileage, well, they will not have to pit for fuel after the stage is over. It's all going to be down 2 tires by the time this race is done. It's going to be a fun one to watch, and we cannot wait to give you all the coverage again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Drivers have just finished up practice. They just got done with qualifying. Warm-ups are finished, and it's time to grid up and get ready for tonight's race. Once again, the championship. It starts now as the drivers take a look at your starting grid, as it is going to be the 32 of Zach Hall, top of the board for himself. Gavin Rogers was hoping to continue his long reign of pole-sitting awards this season, but he'll stay on the front row in 2nd place. Larry Engling, the 3-time champ, going to be starting in 3rd place. Speaking of number 3, 4th position, we see the 3 of Ryan Kelly. Ken Campbell, good strong qualifying run for himself in 5th place. 6th is GT Irizarry. Douglas Newbegin in the 7 machine will be 7th. 8th, we find the number 8 of Brian McCann before we fall down to Vincent Sora in 9th position, and Nick Crawford finishing out our top 10.
Nick Crawford finished out the top 10. Going to go to Cedric Hunter in the 11th position. Danny Cochran in 12th. Brian P. Johnson rolling off from 13th. It'll be fun to watch him come forward along with Josh Canada in the 14th position. Aaron Smith II, we saw him the first driver out there qualifying, ended up settling in a 15th position. Christopher Norris alongside him in 16th. Christopher Wade going to roll over in 17th position alongside Cody Reed in 18th spot. 19th going to be Ben Keeney, and 20th going to be Chris Stitz. Brian Noel did not get the qualifying lap in 21st, and Andrew Medlin starting in 22nd position also did not get that qualifying lap in tonight.
22 drivers, so a much smaller field than what we've been seeing for most of the season, which it kind of gets to that point for drivers. If they weren't in the championship, they don't feel like racing. For others, they had prior obligations, and they weren't able to show up here tonight. But we have all 6 championship drivers showing up here this evening, which means it is going to be all about who can get the best run. But these first 50 laps, Justin, so crucial to make sure you keep your nose out of trouble, but also those stage bonus points, that could already set the tone of are you a factor for the championship or not.
Oh, it definitely can, but right now these drivers, they're rolling off their grid and they're thinking, I got 200 laps here, I got to figure it out. They got the stage break at lap 50. But like you said, fuel's not going to matter. They're going to come in at the stage at 50, get the tires, get the fuel. Fuel's good to go. The question is going to be the tires. If you have a lot of cautions, the tires probably might be able to go that 150 laps. But I doubt it, Sam. I think someone's going to want to go in and get rubber eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if we're having ourselves a race to where it's all about stretching it to the end, you're going to take tires most likely halfway through. But also, we've seen in recent races, especially here in the playoffs, late cautions have been happening, and especially in the middle of a green flag pit stop. So some drivers may not even want to elect to go into pit road until they see a yellow. But here is your race analysis. Once again, tonight's race, 200 laps. We have our stage break at the end of lap 50. Fuel looks to be about 158 to 164 laps, which with us having a stage break at the end of laps 50 means that these drivers will not have to worry about a green flag pit stop for fuel. It would only be for tires. But this evening. Again, the start of the championship round they have tonight at North Wilkesboro, next week at Las Vegas, and whoever's got the most points of our 6 championship contenders will be crowned the Season 9 champion. It's time for us to see how a season will conclude as Gavin Rogers and others take off, but GT Rizari not able to get into the gearing properly. Already some drivers getting involved in an incident, but they keep it straight. We stay green, but Rogers taking off immediately over Zach Hall, and Hall, who had the pole, not going to be able to keep that front spot for himself, but GT Rizari, big scare for the whole entire field that they had to back off for a whole moment.
Well, that was scary. I just can't believe the great jump that Gavin Rogers got on Zach Hall being the leader. I mean, that could be huge. I know it's only lap 2, but you have to just see how this is going to play out later on. It could be hard to pass at these types of tracks, so can Zach Hall get the position back? I mean, he's right now got to worry about can he even hold into second. Larry Yingling down on the inside. We're going to talk about it right there. You can see how it's just a little bit flatter down on that inside line. 32 up high, a little bit more banking, it seems.
Oh, trouble. And it's going to be Ken Campbell spun around off the exit of turn 2, and that will bring out our first caution of the day on lap 3. And re-looking at that initial restart, as this, take a look here on this replay of the spin for the 15. It looked like for Gavin Rogers and Zach Hall, Hall was caught by the pace car pulling off, and the green flag was actually thrown before the pace car was even off the track because of how quick they get into that restart zone. As there's the self spin by the 15, bringing out our first caution of the day. But that initial start, it was when iRacing threw the green flag is when they can go, and the green flag was thrown so early it caught Zach off guard.
It didn't. You see some drivers right here going into the pits. I'm not sure if this is damage related. I would think GT definitely getting that damage fixed. You can see it was all crinkled on the front. Didn't really see too much damage on a 15. Looks like Aaron Smith maybe just went in to top off, maybe get a couple seconds of damage repaired. But lap 5 is early here. Have to see what the strategy is for some of these guys.
Yeah, re-looking at that incident at the initial start of this race, it looked like GT Rizari got on the throttle, wheel spun, came down into Ken Campbell, gave the 15 damage, then also got a little bit of a graze on the 7 at Douglas Newbigging, but a lot of rear end damage and front nose damage for Nick Crawford, who ran into the back of the 14 machine on the initial start. But I think for some of these drivers, getting some good knowledge of, okay, these starts are going to be tricky if you're not prepared for that wheel spin right off the initial start of this race. But those drivers that came into pit road got service done. Aaron Smith second, GT Rizari, Brian Noel, Joshua Kanata, and Ken Campbell is back into pit road for even more damage repair for himself. So going to be about a 17 of our 22 drivers still out on track, not deciding to come into pit road, but early trouble, Justin. This restart, this could be a key one, but Gavin Rogers, this restart is now on whenever he decides to take off and not based off that iRacing green flag.
And it'll be very something that we're going to have to definitely pay attention to. The viewers are going to be watching as well, because they're going to want to know, can the 32 do what he did, what the 75 did to him? Can the 32 get out there and jump that restart? Will the 75 choose that inside line, or will he go to the outside where Zach Hall was? Zach thought the outside would have been better, but it seemed like the 75 got that launch, like you said, with the way the pace car came. Now will be different. They'll be entering the restart zone. They don't have to go on the flag, man. They can kind of choose. But Sam, then again, there's not exactly a restart zone painted on this track.
Well, it's on the ground. There's kind of a zone that they decide to go on. It's between when they see the they see those dotted lines that we just passed. On the entry of pit road, there's dotted lines. There's kind of a small little zone that right before pit entry that they'll take off on, and we'll see it here. If Gavin Rogers electing to be on the inside, gonna go with that same restart spot that he was on the initial go. Zach Hall was the control vehicle on the initial start of this race, but we'll see if Gavin Rogers can get the better launch as the pace car pulls off into pit road into the restart zone, and Zach Hall doesn't go. Larry Yingling with the big wiggle for himself as we are back to green flag action.
You can see how hard it is to get the power planted to the rear tires. You saw that 67 twitch. Luckily, Douglas Newbigging didn't get into the back of him and cause any issues. But right here we have the battle between the 67 and the 3, battling side by side. Who can get the position? The 3 is going to roll a little higher, not going to be able to stay alongside the 67. Douglas Newbigging. Looks like that front is a little pushed in on there. It just seems like that splitter's not flush to the ground. Not sure if that's the design in the car, if that's actual damage there, Sam.
Oh, that is the slight damage that he was collected when GT Rizar came down and brushed him. That is a little bit of damage that he is dealing with. Also getting into the rear end of Ken Campbell on that initial launch. So there is already damage given out, but another caution is thrown, and it's the 25 of Cody Reed. Going to be in this incident, and that was a wreck that started off the exit of turn 4 and ended on the entry of turn 1.
With these short straightaways, pretty easy to have an accident start on one turn and end up in the next turn. We're going to get the replay right here. 25, I think it's going to be in the next corner.
He's going to launch here, and then loses the rear end and tries to save it, not able to, locks it down, but pinches Chris Ditz and Joshua Kanata in the outside wall, and that'll bring out our second caution of the day. And if you're Chris Ditz here, as we ride on board with the 17, just nowhere to really go. You see the 25 spinning, holding, locking the brakes, but it just squeezes up so quickly there. GT Rosario almost gets caught up into some more incidences, but luckily everyone else not getting too much damage in that outside wall. But initially, these drivers already feeling the pain. These vehicles very hard to save once they decide it's going to go off the exit of the corner.
Yes, especially when they're getting down into the gears and they're trying to shift. If these drivers are choosing to shift on these colder tires or just kind of snapping the tires, and you might be exactly what happened to Cody Reed right there. But it looks like it's a 75. No, he was just faking, thought he was going to go into pits. I'm thinking, I don't think he's going to though, Sam. We know we have that caution coming out at 50, so these drivers not really wanting to give up that track position in the front.
Yeah, and especially with how small a field we have. Again, only 22 drivers showing up here tonight. If you get a stage win and then you find yourself having trouble later on, that could minimize a lot of mistakes that you could have being trapped maybe deeper in the field if you pit leader in this race and you can't make any passes. So if you're Gavin Rogers, you're just hoping to get a good, clean restart every time that we go take these restarts to keep the lead. And if there are more cautions, hey, that's just taking laps away from any competition trying to catch up to the 75.
And with the cautions, we get more restarts, and we'll start to learn, is the 75 going to choose that inside line again? I think he's going to go down there. And is this inside line becoming the dominant line for these restarts? Does Zach Hall maybe wish that when he worked so hard to get that pole that maybe he chose that inside line and didn't choose to go up top, because now he's got the work of trying to figure out how to pass the fast 75. But Gavin Rogers, the Sundance pizza car on the inside, he's going to have this restart, have that preferred line, see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why Gavin Rogers is taking this inside row, just because you get straightened out so much sooner than the outside does when you enter the restart zone, just gives the advantage to that driver on the inside. As we are back to green flag action and a little bit of wheel spin for Zach Hall, not able to take off as cleanly as you would hope, but able to keep a nose ahead, at least of Larry Yingling, as the rest of the field tries to get a clean exit at turn number 2.
Clean exit they do, stay green. Larry Yingling back to fighting under the 32 is Zach Hall. Is he going to have that momentum coming out of the corner? That's going to be the key. Can he gas it up and get there? Not able to clear yet. They're going to fight hard on that outside of 32. And you see the different lines these tracks have in each corner. It seems like they run a little bit higher down here in 1 and 2, sometimes 3 and 4. Douglas Newbigging, where these drivers going to about get to 3 wide. To see him eclipse the curve. He's going to spin out. He's going to save it. Saves it, he does. Almost gets down pit road. Doesn't hit the inside wall. Gives up a ton of time. I mean, we talked about it. It seems like Douglas Newbigging just not having that season he wants.
No, and it's one of those things. Locked it down, those tires on the entry of the corner, and was just trying to catch this thing all the way through 3 and 4. And especially when you get it close to that grass, that is not your friend. It can graze any type of non-asphalt surface. And for these drivers on this course, it is all go. As the 7 Douglas Newbigging will lose 8 positions. Now we'll be fighting for 15th place with Cody Reed, was just involved with that incident. But looking at some of our championship contenders, majority of them inside of our top 10, and the main driver, a lot of them have to get by. Ryan Kelly kind of being the divide of our championship 6 at this moment.
And look at right here, gear 4, 100 miles an hour right there. He's going to accelerate down to 120. Got to slow back down under 90, under 80, almost 79 miles an hour is a low. So you can see how much brakes these drivers are using. But Brian P. Johnson, we're on board with him. It's him. He's moving up through the field. Had that 15th place qualifying, I believe, up to 7th already. Just getting really good restarts. The car looks really comfortable right now.
Yeah, seeing a couple of drivers have their mistakes early on, it's kind of gifted these spots away for Vincent Sora to close in on the gap. Same for Cedric Hunter and Brian P. Johnson, which both the 13 and the 28 qualified outside of the top 10. And you're able to now be inside of the top 10, close their competition, and just a mere couple of points if the stage ended now, that they will be between one another. As looking back, some of these drivers, they're hoping to get their speed ratcheted up and taking off as quickly as they can. But currently looking back from the 8 machine of Brian McCann, seeing the likes of Danny Cochran in 10th place, these drivers all just trying to salvage at this point with those early cautions that came out. North Wilkesboro, kind of similar, I would say, to Richmond on the fact that it's a racetrack that can stay clean and green for a long duration of time if everyone's giving space to one another. But as we saw early on, it also can turn into a wreck fest if drivers start to race very desperately around one another.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of had, and it seems to happen often in the beginning of races. Everyone's get those nerves out, get the jitters out, and then it kind of settles in. You saw the 75 there, a little twitch coming out of the corner. 32's hot pursuit, half a second behind. Maybe Zach Hall's got a little bit longer run speed as he starts to gain in. Right here, we're going to have a great idea on these lines that the drivers run. Let's see, right here, they're both getting down in there, pretty much on the curb, down on the grass, down in 3 and 4, trying to launch as straight as they can coming out of the corner. We'll see what they do in turns 1 and 2. Different entries, they would say a little bit different. 32's going to enter a little higher, drift up, and now try and cut it. 75 ran a similar exit, but a little bit different on the entry.
Yeah, and North Wilkesboro, again, an older track that used to be ran a lot back in the day that NASCAR is kind of bringing back to life recently. It's been the All-Star race a couple of times. But what makes this track so unique is the elevation change. It's actually tilted on an angle. Driving into turns 1 and 2, you are going slightly uphill, then into 3 and 4 slightly downhill. So it gives the drivers a little bit help going into the braking zones into turn 1. That's why you see drivers willing to go a little bit higher because they can carry more speed and gravity is going to assist them. While into 3 and 4, it's kind of traditional. Stay low. That's where you're going to be unless you've got fresh tires that enable you to drive on the outside of the drivers around you. But currently, the only close battles of trying to go for position right now on screen, it's Nick Crawford, Danny Cochran, drivers that race against one another on Monday night in the ISRC Truck Series that we cover here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Well, the 2 and the 74 are again quite acclimated with one another on who's going to keep this position. It continues to look like Danny Cochran not wanting to give up this 10th place position.
Does not want to give up that position, but Nick Crawford going to fight hard on the inside. And here's the problem: can you clear down that straightaway? It's just so hard to do it. Coming out of the corner, you think you're going to do it, but you don't. And then you got to kind of pinch that wheel, turn a little bit more, use a little bit more brake, kind of heat those tires up. And if you look behind him, Douglas Newbigging trying to get back in this picture, gain back his track positions that he gave up when he lost about 8 spots. But right now, he's stuck behind Andrew Medlin in the 12.
Andrew Medlin showing up late, same with Cody Reed. Didn't really get as much in the sim practice before qualifying started. So the field trying to race around one another. Looks like Douglas Newbiggin might have a chance to get down below that 12 machine at this time. Everyone else in front of this pack kind of equal distance to one another, anywhere from 0.2 in between one another to a half a second. They continue to kind of just be pretty gapped out. Further on back, you're seeing the battle between Cody Reed and Brian Noel. Noel trying to find some good pacing for the 07 as he's trying to get by the wounded 25 of Cody Reed.
At 25, Cody Reed saw that incident he had earlier in the race, bringing out that second caution. But right now, after having those 2 quick cautions, it seems like we're kind of settled into this little groove right here. These drivers have under 20 laps to go before the stage break. And right now they're getting a good feel for how much they could push these cars and what they have. And right now I tell you what they have is they got Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall opening up a decent lead here. Larry Ewing, he can see those 2 drivers out his camera, but right now he's about a half to 3/4 of a straightaway behind the front 2.
And Larry Angling trying to run similar positioning-wise as everyone else, trying to stay low. The 3-time champ entering tonight, shockingly to say, one of the underdogs of this championship round. The other one I would say is Brian P. Johnson. The only reason I would call them underdogs is just because of the fact that they haven't won this season. Everyone else that made the championship 6 have won either 2 or more times this season. And seeing the 28 past champion of season 1, Larry Yingling, who won season 2, 3, and then won also season number 6. they're both hoping to get back into that championship win column if possible. But with no actual wins this season, I'm curious on your thoughts on it, Justin, of how much is that really going to hurt the confidence of these drivers, or is it not really a thought at all, I would wonder, for the likes of Johnson and Yingling, who, again, don't have any wins this season compared to the rest of the group, other 6?
I think as a driver, probably is weighing in the back of their mind a little bit more so out of frustration because they want to prove to everyone else that they can win. I think they know they can win. A lot of times these races just come down to circumstances. There's times where we thought both of these drivers were going to get that win, and then just something seems to happen. I mean, we thought for sure Larry Yingling at one point was going to win a couple weeks ago back at Darlington. I think we thought he had a pretty good chance, and it just didn't work out for him. And just how racing goes with the way cautions fall and everything. But I think tonight both of those drivers can have a chance. Brian P. Johnson, he drove up through the field pretty quick. He settled in the 7th spot right now, but if he can get the track position later and hold off these guys, same thing with Larry Yingling. He's running in 3rd right now, just a little bit off the front 2. But again, if something changes, the track rubbers up, he makes a little bit of driving adjustment, he might pick up that extra half a tenth.
Speaking about picking up a half a tenth, picking up a couple of tenths has been Zach Hull trying to catch up to Gavin Rogers, and then also seeing the likes of Vincent Sora trying to figure out a way to get by Ryan Kelly. Both of those battles going to be key ones as we are entering these final 10 laps of this run. As Ryan Kelly, again, kind of that buffer driver. He is split our top 6 in the championship on track position. It's our top 3, Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, Larry Yingling. Got to be enjoying the fact that there is a driver in between them to the likes of Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, and Brian P. Johnson, which that one bonus point can be so critical for Larry Yingling to Vincent Sora, or, you know, even the bigger bubbles that grow when you look at the differences after this stage concludes. But we're also getting in that danger zone of, if we get a caution between lap 45 and 50, that also will count as our stage yellow. So these drivers need to make moves now as the laps tick away.
Yes, probably about 2 minutes before that stage at the rate they're going right now, so not much time, but it's hard to pass. You see right here in that rear view mirror, the Hello Kitty car 13, Cedric Hunter, getting into the corner really good, trying to get up there behind. Look at this great view right here. Gets in low. Can he keep that bumper there so that Vincent Sora can't drive it to the bottom and will hurt? He's actually couldn't really get to the 51's bumper right there. We'll see if he can do it again in this corner, and probably not going to be able to do it. But I think that's the goal. As you see, maybe Sora even got the curve a little bit there. Kind of hurt him get out of the throttle to catch it. But right here again, the 13 is going to drive it in low. Can he get his front bumper there to keep the 51 from diamonding this corner? That's going to be the goal for the 13 to get around him.
Still not able to make the pass just yet, but we are in that zone. If the caution flag comes out before the end of lap 50, that will count as the end of this stage. As also seen from the tail end pipes, we're right on board with the 51 of Vincent Sora. Hunter is there at the Hello Kitty machine, finally able to get side by side. That's inching just ever so slightly forward. And for Vincent Sora, who had so much confidence entering tonight, this has got to be a demoralizing pass. If he falls down to 6th and isn't able to hold on to this position, 4 more laps to go before the stage is over, and Gavin Rogers looks solidified to win the stage, maximizing those bonus points, but all of his competition in the Championship 6 trying to find a way to move forward. But with the battling between Hunter and Sora, they've lost touch to Ryan Kelly, who will continue to play defensive for his teammate Larry Yingling and just allow Yingling to hold 3rd place, and the 3 will try to hold back the rest of the field from gaining points.
Larry Yingling loves the fact that the 3 there is right behind him. Like you said, it kind of just separates those drivers. That one position, as we are now on lap 49, looks like the 75 is going to get that stage win if he can come through these corners clean. Not really any pressure from Zach Call, who kind of faded a little bit in the last few laps. But we're going to come to that stage break. Driver's going to pit, and it's going to be important. Do not mess up. The pit road is going to be so close coming out of here. You can easily lose or gain positions. So having a solid pit stop is going to be really important as we're about to get that caution for the stage break.
We are on the last lap of the stage. They entered this race equal, but after these first 50 laps, it's Gavin Rogers who will have the major advantage with where they run now. Rogers is your stage winner here this evening, with Zach Hall second, Larry Yingling third, fourth is Ryan Kelly, Vincent Sora fifth, and Cedric Hunter sixth. Seventh goes to Brian P. Johnson, and the rest of the field in your top 10 is Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, and Douglas Newbigging for your top 10. But those top 7 positions, that's where your championship 6 lie, with Ryan Kelly in fourth, splitting them up as the field now has to make that hard decision. You want the track position, Justin, but this pit stop could be critical on, do you take one setup? Do you just take 4 tires, 2 tires? Does someone stay out for that bonus point of leading a lap? Here we go on the strategy call.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone didn't stay out. It doesn't look like anyone is. I thought maybe a driver who wanted to try and maximize some points would stay out. I mean, with 20 cars out there, if you feel confident you could drive back into the top 10, why not get that point? But we'll see. The 32 right now, he's got to get to that green cone. So it gets there, and he might be able to get the lead back from the 75. Doesn't have to go far distance. We'll see.
Tires up, tires down, and it's Douglas Newbigging. He will shoot out. Was curious on who was going to take a chance on 2 tires. And Douglas Newbigging about to go confirm if it was fuel only or if he took 2 tires for himself. But it's the 7 that's going to be at leaving pit road first.
Wow, I can't wait to see how he's able to drive. Once you find out, Sam, about the tires, maybe he got rights only. I mean,
it was rights only for himself. 2 tire call for the 7 of Douglas Newbigging.
We'll see. I mean, I know it's hard to pass here, but I still feel like I would want tires. They had about a solid 35 to 40 laps on those tires. And this track, I feel like, definitely heats them up and uses them. So we'll see how it works.
I mean, at the time of that caution flag for the stage yellow being thrown, they were about a second off of their fastest laps. I am shocked by the fact that we saw a 2 tire call from the non-playoff contenders, but it was Lucky Ducks drivers Douglas Newbigging and Brian Noel taking the gutsy call of 2 tires, trying to take track position for themselves. This is going to be some good knowledge for us to take in on who is really going to be the driver to watch out for on this restart. But I'm going to quickly try to see if we can pull in our stage winner for a quick chat and see if we've got the 75 on call. Gavin Rogers, it's Sam up at the booth. You got me?
Hey, I got you guys.
Well, stage winner, dominator of these first 50 laps. How are you feeling? How's the car feeling after being our stage winner?
Yeah, car felt good, especially in the clean air, you know. I really thought bottom and 1 and 2 was going to be the lane to run from the practice that I've done, and Zach somehow found something up top, so I wanted to run up there so I could kind of get him in a little bit of dirty air. It's impossible to pass from what I'm hearing in the Discord, so just got to try to stay in front of Zach and hope there's plenty of cautions, just kind of like Martinsville, just to stay in the lead, and hopefully things will pay out and get another one.
Well, Gavin, we're hoping for the best. Good luck. We'll send you back to your Discord call, and hopefully we'll talk at the end of the night.
All right, appreciate you guys.
As that will be Gavin Rogers from Next Level Motorsports getting the stage win. Again, only a quick chat, one question, because we're back to green flag action, and it's Douglas Newbigging who took 2 tires. Gonna take a chance to stay up front if possible. But Justin, here's our first sign of was the 2 tires the better call, as Zach Hall breaks a little loose. Wheel spin off the exit turn 2, but still stays side by side with Rogers.
Yeah, the 32 Zach Hall fighting hard to see if he could get around the 75, because they both feel like if they could clear each other, they might be the control car, because they think they're going to get around the 7. But right now the 7 holding pretty, but eventually will these tires give up? But if so, where do you pass? You heard from our leader, one of the fastest drivers out there. He thinks it's going to be extremely hard to pass. The big test will be, can you get around a car on a little bit older tires? He's only got fresh ones on the right side. The left sides are worn out. As you see the 32 again get loose out of the corner. We've got Brian McCann spinning on the front straightaway, but I think he saved it.
Locking it down was the 8 of McCann. He'll keep it straight. Will stay green. But up front, Zach Hall breaks a little bit loose. He'll lose time and in position for that second place battle. Now in trouble for third place with the likes of Larry Yingling. And Yingling trying to take this position away on the outside, and Hall just does not look comfortable on the inside groove. He just can't get on the accelerator as clean as other drivers, and he makes contact with the Yingling there off the exit.
Going to 32 right now. He's got to settle in. This is a very important race. Can't get away. He does not want to be losing positions. I'm sure he hates to see that, but he's got to think of the bigger picture. But he's going to really cut it close right there. He's going to slide up in front of Vincent Sora. Sora probably not loving that move, but Zach Hall did what he needed to do to get to that outside line, and now he's going to chop down right in front of Vincent Sora, and this could get interesting fast.
It really could, because for Zach Hall, he's trying to calm down, but you have to be careful not to just throw your race away as trying to resettle. He was keeping pretty good pace with Zach Hall to Gavin Rogers, so for Hall, he needs to get by Yingling, try to keep pace with the 75, but Vincent Sora, like you said, probably not happy about that chop. The first one when he came up on the 51, and then that block going into turn 3. Not the most comfortable sights to be seen if you're Hall, who's still fighting to make this pass for second place. The battle for the lead, though, it's starting to ramp up just a little bit more as Gavin Rogers finally gets to the outside quarter panel of Douglas Newbigging, but every time it looks like Rogers might get a better launch off the exit of the corner. It's Newbigging who gets the better center off. He's able to keep this position, but Rogers looks a lot cleaner there off of 2.
Oh yeah, he's going to get him this time to 7. He's going to have to fall back to second position, but he has track position, Sam, so maybe the 7's thinking if I could just get a caution like 20 laps and be in the top 3 or 4, he might get back all those spots, but he's going to have to fight hard now because these drivers are coming behind. And I'm surprised he's not migrating up a little higher, making them pass on the inside where it might be a little harder.
Well, I think the big thing here, if you're Douglas Newbigging, is okay, I can fall back as much as I want, but if we get a late caution, I already know the strategy that's going to get me up front. This caution flag flies. Trouble further on back. It's going to be Christopher Wade and Cody Reed that find themselves with trouble on the back stretch as Christopher Wade looks like he found himself a little bit of wiggle and trouble as the 25 will run into him off the exit of the corner. But here's the replay. Christopher Wade off the exit of the corner just gets a little loose, gets contact with his teammate Ken Campbell, and then it's all awry as the 25 comes flying in, and just with how small this track is, there's no way to react to an incident like that.
Oh, and the 25 already has damage on that front bumper, so now you have to wonder, yeah, just not a chance to react right there, and heavy impact, so we'll see. After 25, hopefully he's able to get that fixed. Doesn't seem like the car's too torn up, but hopefully it doesn't have any radiator issues, any blowing up, overheating.
The driver, though, with damage that's required is Christopher Wade, who is forced into pit road. And also under our stage yellow, we have lost one driver. We're down to 21, going to be out on track, potentially just 20 if Christopher Wade can't get this required damage fixed. Is Danny Cochran in the 2 machine? We're seeing him trying to race aggressively with the likes of Brian McCann, and it looks like the 2 going to call it early here tonight. Again, just some of these drivers racing for wins or just the best finish they can. If they feel like it's just not there, sometimes they like to just pull it off, go with the start and park, carry on with those points, and so they'll see you next week at Las Vegas.
And as a driver in iRacing, I think they need to be conscious of the fact of there being a smaller field and a couple guys getting damaged now, and if they potentially start calling it quits and this field shrinks down to like 17, 16 cars running out there, I mean, Sam, we could be entering that zone where maybe it gets spread out and drivers start giving each other more space because they're fighting for that championship, and all of a sudden if we go green from here on out, I'm surprised maybe drivers didn't go in right now and just use another set of tires. I mean, I know it's only about 15, 17 laps, but maybe if we get 100 laps into this race under green flag conditions, having that little bit extra rubber might help you get a couple spots later on.
Few drivers did take that advice you just threw out. These drivers here tonight have 4 sets to work with in pit road, 5 in total that they started out. At the start of this race, they've got 1 set, 4 sets that they can take throughout the race whenever they pull into pit road. And those drivers that did take a set, Brian McCann, Joshua Kanata, came into pit road, got service done. Brian McCann, Ben Keeney, all getting 4 tires and fuel, and currently still in pit road is Christopher Wade getting required damage done, as well as Ken Campbell just came into pit road to get service done for himself as he's trying to get damage repair fixed, as well as stay on the lead lap. But Justin, you can kind of touch on that maybe a little bit more, as I don't have as much experience, but the anxiety some of these drivers got to be feeling when you have to make a pit stop while they're under pacing at a short track, got to be high.
Yeah, the first thing is you hope you don't have required damage because you only get about maybe 15 seconds, I feel, in here before by the time you get in your pit box, go down pit road so slow, then the pace car's coming, you got to get out, you got to make sure you don't speed. That's the most important thing. It's so hard to get damage fixed. We're going to go back to green here. Douglas Newbigin not going to get the greatest of restarts on that outside on the slightly older tires. He's going to give Larry Yingling a chance to get to the inside, but Douglas is going to drive it in hard. Is he going to get up in the wall? Hopefully not able to keep it off the wall. Everything stays clean. He actually ends up having a good run down a corner, so we'll see if that gives him any momentum to get to the 75's bumper. Not going to be able to do it. The 67 going to try and be in hot pursuit.
He certainly is trying to take every advantage if possible. Zach Hall again, pole sitter. It has just gone wrong ever since the drop of the green. And he's now in a position where he's fighting just for 5th place at this moment. 32 has got to be feeling frustrated at this moment. Again, looking for a reset at some moment. Was hoping that this was going to be the restart, but losing a little bit of ground at Cedric Hunter. Great launch for that 13 machine. He's trying to find a position that can maybe attack for a pass. Zach Hall has a quick blink out, back out on a course, but Gavin Rogers, I gotta say that 75, he's in a prime position, especially with Douglas Newbigin's on-ball strategy of taking 2 tires on our stage break. This race is now turned a little bit upside down for everyone, third on back, on what big moves can they even take at this moment.
Well, and the other thing with the 75 is he's in a great position to get that bonus point for leading the most laps here. I mean, I know we're not halfway yet, and I know Douglas Newbigin led a couple laps there after the caution and from the caution, but if he could get about another 25 laps, he might be able to lock that up and feel pretty good about going into next week. Just having a little bit extra points, but the 32, he's just stuck down on an inside, Sam, and you have to wonder, the frustration level's probably getting up there because he's also probably abusing the tire a little bit more.
Yeah, and we also heard when we talked to Gavin for that quick question of how is the car feeling, it's the fact that he saw how Zach was running, and that's a kind of a new feature that iRacing has added in the past. Drivers weren't able to see qualifying times or see your competition qualify unless you watched the broadcast and maybe you were luckily following a driver on seeing what lane they were running, and some drivers got to see our pole sitters' time and able to learn some small things. That's exactly what Gavin Rogers learned, was the outside lane. There is a lot of speed up there. Has trouble behind Christopher Norris, Ryan Kelly. They find themselves in a little bit of a moment as it's the 38 spun around on the backstretch.
Spun around at lap 78. It's going to be shy of halfway, but it does open up that door. Do these drivers want to give up track position? I mean, you know you could probably go safely 70 laps and feel good on the tires, Sam. So we still have 130 here, but the question is, you don't know when that last caution comes out. You see right here the impact.
Wicked overcorrection for the 3 machine of Ryan Kelly. That is going to force some major front end wheel damage. Required damage heads over to the 3 machine, but Christopher Norris ahead of him is where he sees just no way to avoid the 3, and gets piled in also by Andrew Medlin there, and it's just a slight wiggle by the 3, overcorrects into that outside wall and everyone else behind. I mean, it's so hard when you're this close to one another to even make a move to avoid carnage, and right there the 3 takes the brunt of that incident.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting there on pit road, and his goal is going to try and be to get out before this pace car gets there, but I don't know, that's going to be close. Because right now you can see, will anyone pit? Not seeing it right now, Sam. I guess these drivers just don't want to give up that track position at all.
Well, you also got to think for the front runners, they've had a couple of quick cautions. Yes, we've been green for a few laps, but last time they pitted was almost 30 laps ago once we go green again. So there's still a little bit of rubber still underneath them that they can work with. And giving up track position is not something you just want to do here at North Wilkesboro. And you talked about the fact that Gavin Rogers is so close to leading the most laps. Well, that is a title that this 75 would love to grab. Every driver that has won here at North Wilkesboro in the past has led the most laps. So the 75 looking for that magical number of leading over 100 laps or so. As here's your race report so far. A couple of cautions. I think the field would like those to be calmed down just a little bit. One of the 5 being our stage yellow, but I mean, this is a racetrack notoriously known for bringing out a lot of cautions, Justin, and we're seeing it right now. That loose sensation off the exit of the corner has been the big factor of this evening.
Yeah, it seems like it's really been single car spins. Hasn't really been drivers running over one another. So much has been the overcorrection, getting loose, hitting a curb down there in 3 and 4. But it seems like every time we get 20, 25 laps in, we get that caution. So you just don't know when it's going to linger and when it's going to go. And that's what's going to make the strategy of, are these drivers up front? Are they thinking, you know what, I'm not taking tires the rest of this race? And they're just going to hope that they get enough cautions to keep them cool and keep them clean until the end? Or is someone maybe going to pit, and maybe if we get a caution at lap 100, 110, are they going to go in to get that fresh rubber and utilize cautions and restarts to drive back to the front?
As the field is getting stacked up and ready to go this time by, we have lost another driver, joining with Danny Cochran. Christopher Wade, who's got up in an earlier wreck, required damage for the 53. He has called it an evening. Ryan Kelly has got damage repairs done. He's back out on track, but 3 laps down, 19 drivers on the lead lap. And it's Gavin Rogers on the inside who's going to be taking us to the green here at North Wilkesboro, the first race of 2 in our championship round. As Rogers, one of our championship 6, continues to lead up front. The rest of the field trying to still scratch their head on how do you keep up with the 75 that's been looking so strong this evening.
He has been, but maybe one of the best ways to keep up with him is utilize 2 tires like Douglas Newbigin has done, because he's been able to stay in second and he's holding strong on all these restarts, not giving up time. Maybe the 75 was just so fast he was able to get around him, but the rest of these drivers, they're still figuring out. But one that driver that is figuring out is that 28, Brian P. Johnson, up to 3rd position, trying to get around to 7 if he can, and we get a caution. He would then be restarting next to Gavin Rogers, excuse me, and we know that Brian P. Johnson wants that win. We were just discussing at the top of the show how we feel like he's a driver who consistently could win each week, just has not found that victory yet.
Yeah, entering this season, Brian P. Johnson was the most winningest driver of the WSSR Cup Series. He's now fallen to 2nd most, as he is 1 win behind Vincent Sora, who took that crown. It's been a back and forth ever since season 6 on who would have the most wins in this series, but Brian P. Johnson known for wins. Larry Yingling also, he's 3rd overall on the most winningest driver category in the career of WSSR, but both winless so far here in season 9. Gavin Rogers, on the other hand, he's part of a group that's trying to become the most winningest driver of this season, tied with 3, trying to aim for number 4. As we take a look here at Zach Hall, finally gets that outside lane, trying to make his move forward, but really not able to do so. And a driver who did a similar strategy as Douglas Newbigin, it's Brian Noel, took 2 tires the last time he was in pit road back at our stage break, and he's now getting his nose forward and trying to put some pressure on some of our top 6 contenders.
You have to start wondering, did 2 tires maybe change the handling of this car, where it's giving them some grip? I mean, maybe they don't have the tire grip, but they have the handling characteristics. Maybe they're not feeling as loose as they were. Maybe it's tightened the car up a little bit more, or vice versa. It just seems like drivers with 2 tires are able to contend right now.
Might help with maybe the entry of the corner, which, I mean, if you have a cleaner entry, it certainly can find stability off the exit. As right now, the 07, Ryan Noel, with one of his better runs of the season right now, with gaining some track position, has already got by the 13 of Cedric Hunter, pushing him back to 8th place. And the 07 now putting the pressure on Larry Yingling. As a little bit of tap, more contact going to be made, even more. Douglas Newbigin, no regard for playoff contention, and he gets passed by Cedric Hunter, who goes to the inside. And that Lucky Ducks machine trying his best to get forward, but just no power was there. He was hoping 8 tires would help him get through the corner. Not the case, and he'll lose a spot to the 13.
Ryan Noel putting the show on right there. Battling hard with Larry Yingling. I mean, that was entertaining. Larry Yingling had to be worried right there. Was he going to get spun out? The winner of all that, Cedric Hunter, he gained the spot, moved him up. Now in the 7th position, he's all over Larry Yingling. He's going to try and get by. The Hello Kitty car, we saw him have a lot of speed on the longer run, and right before the end of that first stage, he was up there fighting to get around Vincent Sora, and now he's back in 7th. Can he get around Larry Yingling and drive back up into that top 5 potentially?
Trying to fight their way forward. Looking at some other drivers again. As our stage ended over 40 laps ago, drivers have entered pit road and taken chances on tires. The first of those that took tires is currently that cotton candy blue and pink machine. It's the 16 of Joshua Kanata, pitted 27 laps ago, with also the grouping of Ken Campbell and Brian McCann behind the 16. They're all on slightly worn-in tires, but still fresher than everyone else inside of the top 10, as they're going to try to march their way forward. But a grouping of drivers that pitted under our last caution: Christopher Norris, Nick Crawford, 14th, 15th position. they're the drivers of note to watch out for as Christopher Norris is working on that outside groove, trying to move forward.
Brian get around to 8 of Brian McCann right here. He's got the 15, Ken Campbell, stuck right in front of him. This is where it gets really interesting because you've got to figure out where are these cars in front of you going to go and what lane are you going to pick. He's going to try and go around to 15 now. He's going to jump to the outside, and 38, he's laying down some laps right now. He's going to get around both of those drivers.
Christopher Norris running very similar lap times to our leader of Gavin Rogers, just slightly faster than Rogers is this Grimace purple machine. As Christopher Norris now slots his way up into 12th position, as he was hoping to get maybe to the outside of Joshua Kanata. He'll lay in those same tire tracks, breaks a little loose, but hey, when you're getting this quick of runs off the exit of the corner, sometimes you get a little bit overzealous and you forget, okay, we gotta hit our same marks and not just trust that we slam the throttle, it's gonna work.
You see right there, he's trying to get to the outside of the 16, but the 16 also wanted to have that late entry into the corner, and right there you can see the breaking loose of the 16, and when we see on board right here, coming on the, not this straightaway, but the next straightaway, you'll see how that wall kind of tricks you. You think you can come out a little higher, and then the wall disappears, and then the wall comes back, and kind of sometimes can catch you by surprise, and it's the way to get up here. You're going to see coming out of this corner, the wall sneaks up on you, and you have room right there, and then all of a sudden you get that little bit of that entry where those cars come on the track back in the day. Kind of laser your eyes a little bit there, Sam.
Yeah, that little kink on the back stretch. Thought we were going to see someone run into it with that Ryan Kelly incident earlier on. That Christopher Norris himself was involved. Norris trying a different approach, diving it down low, putting the pressure on Joshua Kanata to try to find a better run off the exit of the corner. And oh boy, Christopher Norris, Kanata, center of the corner, get a little bit of contact between one another in the 16. Not appreciative of that move. Norris immediately over the radio apologizing and showing his dismay. Kanata tried to put a pinch on the 38, but the fresher tires allows them to continue to duel back and forth.
And then 38 tried to go around to 16 on the outside, wasn't able to do it, so now he's going to go to the bottom. It's just so much harder to, even with the fresher rubber, just to kind of get that power planted down into the ground. And they're getting really close to contact, and now they're starting to get into where cars are in front, and the 38 is just wanting to get by because he wants to keep going forward with those tires that he put on the car, and it's just so hard right now. He's kind of stuck down there on that inside.
Stuck on the inside and starting to see a wall in front of him as we ride on board with the 74 machine and Nick Crawford. Crawford feeling like we just had a restart with the driver stuck 2 by 2 as the inside row getting some more drivers in line. The outside row, it's the 07 Brian Noel, but hold on, we got trouble behind him. It's Andrew Medlin who goes for a quick slide, as well as a few others not enjoying the run that they just had, but it was the 12 going for a lazy slide off the exit turn 2.
Now, right 4 laps after halfway, you have to wonder, does this open up any strategy plays? What's going to happen? If the leaders pit, do people stay out? Does Christopher Norris stay out? Looks like the car was running pretty good right there.
And most of our leaders deciding to hit pit road, as here's your replay of what just brought out our most recent caution for caution number 6. And it's that drive back onto the track with Cody Reed and Ben Keeney coming through. That right out the yellow flag here tonight, just after halfway. And some of those drivers staying out, going to be Gavin Rogers not pitting, Christopher Norris in second place, Joshua Kanata, Chris Stitz, all deciding to stay out. Zach Hall went with the 2 tires, stopped the rest of the field. It's 4 tires and go. As for us of the booth, as we're just past halfway, I think we're going to take our first commercial break of the evening. It has been a blast watching the North Wilkesboro racing. Not as crazy as we thought we were going to see on the cautions and the wrecks. They kept it pretty tame on that end. But we certainly know that this racing action is going to ramp up even more as you're watching the WSSR Cup Series. It's the playoff championship round, race number 1 and 2 here at North Wilkesboro. We'll be back right after this. Well, we were seeing the ramping up of chaos as we were side by side there, but caution flag is thrown. Andrew Medlin going with a little bit of a slide after contact from Cody Reed. I got the 12 sideways. Both drivers are okay. No one hit the wall, but it certainly helped this group to calm down. They were getting chaotic. We were 3 wide at moments, almost 4 wide. And with all the passes that were being made, it's Christopher Norris taking the top spot in the 38 machine. His teammate Zach Hall was looking like he was ready to pounce and move everyone out of the way to get up front. With Chris Ditz in 3rd, Josh Kanata 4th, and 5th being Vincent Sora. Might be questioning, where the heck did Gavin Rogers just go? Well, because he didn't pit under our last caution with everyone else, he just pitted now. He's back to 19th position, and Justin, this is that worry of being the leader and being so fast is usually do the opposite of what the leader's doing. That's exactly what they did. They forced Gavin Rogers now into traffic. He's got a long night ahead of him now.
He does, and I mean, with this race having about 85 laps to go once we get back to green, it'll be fun to watch him drive up here. But the question is going to be, can he drive back? Can he drive to the top 10? I would think he'd be close to that, but can he get to the top 5? That's going to be the challenging point. And now you're going to wonder about giving up the potential to get those bonus or the points from winning the race and being in the top 2 or 3 positions. But I think it's safe to say he most likely probably locked up getting the most laps led, as we've had Douglas Newbigin lead now and also Christopher Norris. So as long as those drivers are able to swap like they have, I don't think that'll be a problem. Gavin Rogers should get that bonus point.
I believe you're correct in that call, as it was only just a couple of laps that Douglas Newbigin was ahead, and then Rogers took that position back in. I believe he has led almost 100 laps with the transition we're about to be seeing with some of these drivers. I think we could for sure confirm Gavin Rogers takes the bonus point for most laps led, leading the lap, and wins the stage. So bonus points are fully collected for Gavin Rogers. Now it's just try to finish in a decent position, because if you can finish inside of the top 10, top 15 with all those bonus points, you can minimize a bad finish. Now it's to see what can the other drivers that were in our championship 6, how can they perform here on this next restart. But up front is Christopher Norris with his teammate Zach Hall in 2nd place. I'm curious here, is Christopher Norris just going to take off and go, or do they play a little bit of games to help Zach Hall get up front? Here we go, pace car to pit road, green flag is out, and Christopher Norris gets the launch that's needed. It's now on to Zach Hall. Can he power his way forward? Looks like Norris, he backs off though. It's Zach Hall on the outside with the run. He takes the lead back.
Backs off, but Zach Hall, he also just pitted. He got the fresh right side tires, choosing to do that 2-tire strategy that we've seen Douglas Newbigin do and run strong with. We saw the 38.
Oh, they're squeezing though further on back, and oh no, it's Vincent Sora spinning around. Larry Engling's involved. JT Rizzari with a hard contact. The big one strikes here on laps 117.
You see the 75 looks like he got through. We're going to check this replay, but a lot of drivers in contact, a lot of accidents, and now we're getting into that point where we're under almost 80 laps to go, and these drivers, their aggression is picking up. We can check this replay.
Cedric Hunter also looks to be involved, but it all was coming off the exit of turn 4. You see the likes of little small contact of Brian P. Johnson into Vincent Sora, which then he goes up into Douglas Newbigin, and it's just a clobbering match from there on in, and also Brian P. Johnson involved. It was almost 4 of our championship 6 had some type of contact in this incident.
Yeah, 3 wide, not ideal what you want to have on this type of track with just how close it is, but it all starts, like you said, with the contact. I think, looks like the 51 may have got into Chris Ditch, which kind of checked him up, and then the 28, Brian P. Johnson gets into the 51, and just from there, it's all bumper cars.
Cedric Hunter, Larry Yingling, they get a lot of that damage involved there, but it's GT Irizarry with the hardest collision for the 14 who's out of this race. Well, right on board with Cedric Hunter on his point of view of trying to get through this chaos. It's just trying to slow down. It's Yingling who just muscles the 13 down. I think they would have been all right, but that contact with the 67 coming down is what gets this pink machine spun around, and everyone tries to center back up, but in an instant, there is our wreck. Early one, but our first, you could call, playoff implication incident of this championship round.
Yeah, and the most important thing for the fans of the 75, Gavin Rogers, who they felt like was doing really good tonight, but had the bad pit stop where he stayed out and didn't pit. He's now in the top 10. He was able to get through that. He was able to take it easy on that restart, probably predicting maybe some craziness, and was able to be far enough back that he was able to get slowed down and maneuver around the cars that were wrecked. So it gets him into the top 10, but now it's going to be, can he get to the top 5?
And he gets to the top 5, but 10th place is a big recovery run for himself, but now he's going to have a couple of other drivers behind him. Damage repair, getting a fresh set of tires. With these final 80 laps, it is still wide open on who's going to be the favorite here tonight to win, because I got a feeling here, Justin, with Zach Hall, 16-lap old tires on his right side. He only took 2 tires on his last pit stop. You got Brian P. Johnson, who's involved with that last incident, but he took 4 tires in 5th place. I mean, those drivers know big points are in front of them if they could somehow get up front to win this race. But I got to say, for Zach Hall, the fact that he's in the lead position is a big help for himself.
Yeah, after the issues that we saw in some of the restarts where he was stuck down on the bottom, kind of beating around on the bottom, and sliding those tires too, more importantly, just kind of heating them up and not having the most ideal restarts. But then all of a sudden he had the good pit stop, started there on the inside. I think he was in 5th on the restart, and he pretty much drove to 2nd place within like a lap and a half, and then got the caution, and then was alongside his teammate, took the lead. I mean, he had a great 2 restarts in a row, so he recovered from the earlier incidents.
Certainly did. And for Zach Hall, lead position, gets the controller restart. This is what took him all race to finally be a part of, as Zach Hall on an initial start has the lead and able to keep on to it. Christopher Norris trying his best to hold back the rest of the field for the 38 machine as they're squeezing in contact. Brian Noel is able to hold on, but he gets squeezed right there. Joshua Kanata putting some pressure, but I gotta say, for the 16, he's on the oldest tires of anyone out there on track, and he is fighting for the 2nd place position.
Fighting for the 2nd place, going to actually clear Christopher Norris coming out of the corner, so Norris goes from the lead. 2 restarts to go to now falling back to 3rd under pressure, maybe going to lose 3rd, fall back to 4th, potentially fall back to 5th, all in that cycle of 2 corners. The 38 machine, those tires are starting to give up on him. Drivers are pulling to the inside to try and get around him. 38 just not getting through the center of the corner like he once was earlier in this race when we were watching him. And that's going to start opening up the door for some of these other drivers behind, like Cody Reed, who's recovering from his incidents.
Cody Reed is flying right now, but also near Cody Reed is the 75 of Gavin Rogers. Rogers is able to muscle his way now up to 8th position at this time. But Brian P. Johnson, again, some fresh tires. He's the first driver that pitted with Zach Hall 21 laps ago that took 4 tires. Same with him as Brian Noel, who took 4 tires. They're trying to run down Zach Hall as quickly as possible. But Gavin Rogers, he sees the wall. There's not much you can do in this position except for hope that the driver you follow ahead of you is the one that's going forward. I think you picked right to the outside of Brian McCann. Rogers, with some of the freshest tires of anyone out on track, is on the move on the outside groove.
On the move on the outside groove, just not cleared yet of the 8 machine. Brian McCann. The problem is going to be is he's got the 16 now up there too, so he's got to fight with, is the outside the line where he wants to be, or is the 38 going to be able to get around the 16? The 16 gets a little loose coming out of the corner, kind of starts to check up that row a little bit. Vince Sora, he's coming back now. 51, he's going to battle with the 75 here. We got battles all over this track, but up front, just to keep everyone knowing, it's still a half a second lead. Brian P. Johnson has not run down Zach Hall yet, but we expect that those 4 tires might get the job done sooner or later.
There's the clearance Gavin Rogers is looking for. Also Vincent Sora. Sora has the freshest of tires of anyone out on track, but he is dealing with some slight front right damage. Thought maybe his race was done. Talked to a few drivers to get their analysis on that front end. Everyone says there is damage there. But the 51, no give up, no worries. He'll continue to fight to try to get by Gavin Rogers, and having a slight tire wear advantage. It seems to be so key here at North Wilkesboro as Rogers snaps slightly loose, giving a chance for the 51 high, but that's exactly where the 38 of Norris is, who's been the slower vehicle, and Sora can't capitalize on that mistake on the previous straightaway. They've got to recenter as Sora stays on that bumper of Gavin Rogers.
And right here, you can see a little bit of that damage on the right front by the E in the E Sports. If you look to the left right there, it just seems like it was pushed up a little bit, but he's going to try and get underneath the 75. Can he do it? Not going to do it. 75 just had such a good launch off on the corner, running a perfect line, able to defend that momentum. But again, we were just focused in on that little bit of damage, seeing how much it could be upsetting the handling on the 51 of Vincent Sora.
This is going to be that weird chess match of who's going to have the better positioning for tires at the end of this race, because we've got less than 70 laps to go here tonight. About to be closing in on 65, and more drivers have called it a night. As we've been green, GT Rizzari has pulled into pit road and called it a night. Ben Keeney was that huge puff of smoke just 5 laps ago, and Cedric Hunter just having a moment for himself off of turn 4, and caution flag is out. And now the big question of do you pit or stay out becomes the question for Zach Hall, who's got 2 sets still in pit road and going to be with a little bit less than 65 laps to go. This could be your final stop, but you'll be back in traffic. So it's the big question, do you pit now or later?
Yes, I don't know what I would do. I think Zach as the leader just has to decide, does he think that those tires were given up, or does he think he can cool them down under caution and defend from anyone else? I mean, he does have a buffer of cars between him and some of the guys who are on freshest tires, but then again, those drivers right behind him, they're still fresher tires than what Zach has. So regardless of where he's at on track, there's people with fresh tires and even fresher. You see right here.
It's the middle of the field that's going to be making the pit stop as Cedric Hunter just snaps loose, overcorrects, and luckily didn't drive up into other drivers. I was the one to always worry when you snap loose and overcorrect back to the outside wall, is how aggressively is that car going to snap back up to the right, but luckily no one involved. But a few drivers did make the decision to go into pit road. Brian McCann taking 2 tires for himself. Also, Joshua Kanata, Christopher Norris, Cedric Hunter, Cody Reed, and Ryan Kelly all look to be entering pit road during this pit stop. Take that back, Ryan Kelly still staying out 10 laps down. But I was just in the middle of talking about drivers that are out of this race. Ben Keeney, GT Rizzari, Christopher Wade, and Danny Cochran out of this race, with Ryan Kelly being 10 laps down. I mean, Justin, the amount of positions that you can lose is dwindling each and every lap. And with the potential still a lot of cautions in front of us, this night's not free for the rest of this field here this evening.
No, and with it being like a different car count than what we're used to, with them not being like the 30, 35 cars, close to 40 sometimes like we're expecting, it also makes the points so valuable because, I mean, going into next week, what if there's only 15 cars out there or 18 cars, and if you have a bad night tonight with 22 cars out there, I mean, the points are less and less for you to gain on your competition. So it's very important tonight to get the job done and come out of here with a solid finish, and it'll be fun because this restart, Gavin Rogers, he's recovered at 5th. We were wondering if he would get inside the top 10. He did it. Top 5, we were wondering. He did it. Can he get back to the lead? That might be the next one.
I think the lead is calling his name, unless we see some of those drivers further on back that just pitted. If they can climb through this field a lot more efficiently, but with how close the lap and tires are compared to a Gavin Rogers that just pitted, to Christopher Norris, that is only a 17 lap advantage and over a 10 position difference. So there's a lot of work to be done between these different groups, but just saw there under that last caution, Cedric Hunter, part of our top 6 championship drivers, racing for the championship, having that slide. He did come into pit road, got service done, 4 tires of fuel. We'll see how well he can recover, but the drivers up front, they know they need to make a wall and hold back Gavin Rogers, hold back Vincent Sora. Sora's running with a little bit of more aggression under himself because he was caught up in that wreck, dealing with damage. A win would be a good way to sweeten a bad, poor night. As these drivers are back underway, green flag is out. A little bit of wheel spin for Zach Hall, but the inside row just doesn't go. It's Nick Crawford that's able to stay side by side and nose ahead of Brian P. Johnson.
Move Nick Crawford up into 2nd place. Brian P. Johnson did not get the restart he wanted. He worked so hard to battle up there to get in the 2nd position, have a chance at the leader, and just did not get the ideal restart. That kind of opens the door for some of these other drivers in different lanes on these restarts. If one lane goes faster, can they capitalize, gain a spot or 2, move up a row for the next potential restart? Vincent Sora, he's in 5th position. That's what he was hoping to have happen on that restart. Didn't get it because Vincent Sora got around him. And look at this, we have a lockup of tires getting into the corner. Looked like the 07 maybe locked up that inside tire. But Nick Crawford, he has a chance to get around Zach Hall. He's running right with him.
Yeah, he is right there trying to get by. And Zach Hall, Nick Crawford, teammates for Snowy Desert Racing for themselves. Curious if Crawford and Hall are going to make the decision of just go, Crawford, go, or does Crawford try to play a little bit defensive here to hold back Johnson and Sora and Noel, as they're going to be trying their best to run down these top two, as Crawford as well as Zach Hall and Johnson, they're all on the same 38 lap old tires compared to Vincent Sora, who's on 24 lap old tires. Larry Yingling back in 7th is on 22 lap old tires, and some of the freshest rubber out there on track. Joshua Kanata 11th place, has the freshest of tires of anyone, just a mere 8 laps of wear and tear, which the laps that have been put down at Green Flag Racing, it's actually only just about kind of 6 laps, about to be 7. As looking further up ahead, more drivers are squealing on those tires. The 07 of Brian Noel, he is locking the tires pretty bad up front. It's been on the entry of turn 3 as he's trying his best to hold back the field behind him, but it's just not working at this moment. The handling looks terrible for Brian Noel.
Looking not good for the left front tire when you lock it up like that a few times, just kind of heats it up, and we almost had some 3-4 wide battle there getting into the corner back in traffic. That was interesting. They were able to get it down to 2 wide. I think that was 07 Douglas Newbiggin. They were entering almost 3 or 4 wide. Looked like they were dealing with the slower car coming out of the corner, but that was some hectic racing right there. We're coming under the 50 to go. These drivers have to make up their ground now. I mean, it's go time. If you're going to get your points and be feeling good about next week, you've got to go now.
We ran on board the 70 machine of Aaron Smith II, who was part of a round of 11, just missing out on racing for a championship. A solid season for himself, but behind is the true battle of the night. It's Cedric Hunter who dives it down low on the 70 machine. Hunter is just like Joshua Kanata, some of the freshest rubber out there on track. It's on the 13 of the Hello Kitty machine, as he's trying to crack into the top 10, able to do so. Now going to move up to 8th place as he gets by Kanata and Aaron Smith II at the same corner. And now it's Cedric Hunter, hoping that he was graced with the timing, able to make these passes, but Larry Yingling puts a little bit of a block. Hunter touches the grass, and all that time gained is now lost.
Wow, and the hardest thing about that is he lost positions. He's got to use those tires up now to get back around cars. Just, he would love to have that corner back. Just that little, that could have been the difference. Right there, I was thinking we were about to talk about, can he drive up to the front, and now just losing that time, that's going to really hurt him. 50 laps to go.
Now for Cedric Hunter, it's okay, where's Joshua Kanata going as the 16? Gonna go high. He's got fresh tires as well, but will there be enough markings to get openings for some of these drivers? Now the 07 of Noel, who's been burning up his tires. He's on that cliff fall-off moment for himself as he's battling with Gavin Rogers for 5th position. Cedric Hunter and also Joshua Kanata have to make a decision. Do we force it 3 wide or let this 2x2 battle just continue to kind of figure itself out? And Kanata, he'll drop down low, thinks of poking the middle, thinks the 07 is going to be the one with the better launch, and is the better driver with the launch. Outside rows where you want to go.
It's so interesting right now as a driver, when you have fresher tires like Cedric Hunter, you got to also be so smart about picking your lanes and trying to predict what driver is going to get around who the fastest, because right now if the 07 is struggling, is that where you want to be behind him? The outside line, definitely probably the preferred line, but if the 07 is locking up the tires and maybe holding up traffic, he's going to drive.
Wide. Joshua Kanata gonna go on the outside groove, puts Noel in the sucker hole as he's gonna stay stable. Cedric Hunter able to make the pass, and now it's Hello Kitty in the 16 contact through the apex of 1 and 2, helping out the 13 a little bit more to straighten him out. Well, they stay side-by-side drag racing in turn 3, and Kanata clean air in front of him, as Gavin Rogers is going to be playing a little bit of spoiler in between, trying to hold back the fresher tires. And as this grouping and this pair have been moving forward, they've now got a trio, as Christopher Norris now is going to be tagging along with fresh rubber just the likes as them. But they're 3.5 seconds off of Zach Hall, who was trying to continue to pull away and make a gap to everyone else on the field.
Yeah, we'll start watching that time. You made note of it. About 3.1 for Gavin Rogers, 3.7 for Cedric Hunter. So can they begin to run down Zach Hall? Will they have enough time to do it? I mean, 3.7 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot on a track like this when laps are going away about 20 seconds a clip.
As they now finally got a little bit of fresh air to work with, Cedric Hunter is hoping to get by Gavin Rogers and have that spacing to finally put down some fast time. But as they've been able to clear, Gavin Rogers, that last lap, has found something. He is about 0.2 faster than Zach Hall, and running is Cedric Hunter. just about the same lap times. They are closing in quickly on Brian P. Johnson for fourth place, and that gap that was once 3.5 seconds, well, it's down to less than 3 seconds for Rogers and Hunter.
You can see the line that Gavin Rogers is able to run, especially in 1 and 2. He's just able to cut to the left and exit straight out of the corner and carry the speed. Right here you see he's going to enter high, and watch, he should, I'm not sure if he's going to do it this time. He is. He's going to cut down low, and look at this. He's just able to take that shorter distance and get a great run out of the corner, and then down here he's just able to drive to the bottom and is able to rip it down there by the curb. So right now to 75, he's got speed, but don't rule out that 13 is Cedric Hunter. He's coming too.
13 is Cedric Hunter trying to just stay attached with Gavin Rogers as they make their way forward, and every pass that Rogers makes, Hunter tries to follow in suit if possible. But again, these drivers, when they get into a battle side by side with someone else, they lose time to Zach Hall. But one driver that wants to get back to the glory days, what was vintage Vincent Sora, running down and catching up to Zach Hall to make some late passes in races. That was what Vincent Sora was notoriously known back in Season 5 and Season 6. And open here tonight as the 51 gets clear, has a 14 lap advantage of tires over Zach Hall. And that last lap, it was Hall that was just about a tenth faster than Vincent Sora. This is going to be the first true lap. Where is Sora's speed compared to Hall, as their difference is only 1.4 seconds.
1.4 seconds. It'll be fun to watch. But behind Gavin Rogers, Brian P. Johnson, they're trying to run down these drivers as well, and Cedric Hunter, but they were losing time, just what they had to do with the battling. So right now, I would have to say it's going to come down to these two up front. The 1.3 seconds gap. Cam Vincent Sora run him down. Zach Hall on the right side tires, he got those, but he's on a little bit even older left side tires because he only took 2, right, Sam?
Yeah, only took 2 on his last pit stop with Zach Hall, so those left sides are really worn in and on danger mode. Want to get later and later into this race. Less than 40 laps to go. Going to be 36 laps to go when we cross the line now. And Hall's gap, it was a little bit under a second and a half, and it's still 1.3 when they cross the line. Hall is keeping distance. If he's not gaining, he's at least staying equal to Vincent Sora. Sora is starting to plateau on those tires, and that's a worry for himself. I'm looking at other drivers that are running faster than our leader. That's Gavin Rogers and Cedric Hunter, but they've lost over a second again because of trying to get by Brian P. Johnson. They're still battling to this point. They're running faster than Hall, but they're now almost 5 seconds back to the 32 machine.
Yeah, they're running faster. The problem is that they still have to pass the cars, so they'll run faster to get to the cars, and then it takes them, even if it takes them 5 laps to get around them, but they're running a second slower every time they get to these lap cars, battling, trying to get around them, so they're just losing so much time. They had it down to under, it was 3.1 and 3.7, but now it's 4.9 seconds and 4.7, so that's the problem. They can't get around these cars right now. It looks like the 75 is going to clear to 28. And then we'll see, can he start tracking them down again? But I would say, Sam, without a caution, I don't think they're doing it.
They're going to be trying their best to try to move forward, but Gavin Rogers finally clear. This is going to be the spacing that he needs. And what true speed does the 75 still have left underneath him? Also, Brian P. Johnson, the more positions he loses, the more points he's going to lose touch to the likes of Hall, Sora, and Rogers, and Cedric Hunter. And there's a pack just trying to swarm this 28 machine before he finally is able to settle in. But that last lap, Rogers and Hunter were a tenth faster than Hall. This go around, another clean lap for the both of them, as it will be Hall that last lap, a 19.8, 19.7 for Rogers, 19.6 for Cedric Hunter. Hunter needs to get by Gavin Rogers if he wants the chance to at least run down and catch up to Nick Crawford before this race is over.
Yeah, can he do it? That's going to be the problem. He's right there on him. At 13 has tremendous long run speed. We noted on it at the top of the show at the stage. The 13 was moving forward. It seems like that car really comes to life later in the run. And right now we have that long run. Problems is the time, the difference, the slide that he had through that corner when he lost 2 positions. How much is all that accounting for right now about the time he's behind, under 30 laps to go? Up front, nothing's happening except the 32. He's actually increasing his lead now over Vincent Sora. So even with the 51 having a little bit better tires, Zach Hall is able to hold off with the right side tire call. And I tell you what, Sam, I think a lot of it is I really like the line he's running through 1 and 2. He seems to be running really high consistently, not even cutting a corner anymore coming down low. It just seems like he's running a nice high line, and it's really working for him. Must be kind of keeping that tire nice and cool. You see, he doesn't even really cut like the other drivers are doing. Kind of just rolling that outside.
I talked about the fact that there's a slight elevation change from the top of turn 1 downsloping to the apex of turn 3 and 4. There is a little bit of an uphill climb you have going into turn 1, so you got that slight gravity on top of the banking of the corner that helps you get that little bit of extra speed. And Zach Hall just letting this car, you could say, float its way through 1 and 2, then tries to stay low, paint that white line close to the outer edge of the grass through 3 and 4, and it is a pretty line that's helping this 32 stay in this top spot, still over a second and a half ahead of Vincent Sora. That, like I said before, either Zach Hall is gaining and building his gap, or he's staying equal with Vincent Sora. This has been so impressive by the 32 machine. And looking at other drivers, the gaps that they have for Zach Hall, Nick Crawford still 2.5 seconds back. And the battle for fourth of Gavin Rogers and Hunter continues to fight back and forth. There's still no real leader yet, but Rogers is fighting for everything to keep this 4th place position. And Hunter is starting to get a little tired of staying behind this 75 because he knows each lap that passes, each lap he's cooking more of these tires, and the chances of running down for 3rd, potentially 2nd, is dwindling away.
Yeah, I honestly feel, just from watching the 13, I think if he was able to get by the 75, he could show. I really think the 13 might be the fastest car on the track. The problem is not enough laps left, and just trying to pass cars, it's just holding him up so much, and he's just really abusing the tires as well, just trying to do it. If he was able to get track position, it would be really fun to see what he could have done and run down the leaders, but not going to have enough time with only 22 laps to go. He may not even have enough time to get around to 75 just because it's so hard to pass. The question is going to be, does he get on the bumper? 75 gets out of that corner a little loose. Here's his chance. 13 can drive it off into the inside.
And for Cedric Hunter, this pass so crucial for him to gain points on Gavin Rogers again, who maximized his points entering tonight on bonus points. He led a lap, led the most laps, won the stage, and that is already 12 bonus points given to Gavin Rogers before this race is even over. For Zach Hall, he was running in that 2nd place position when the stage was over. Also has led a lap, didn't lead the most laps, but if Cedric Hunter gets by Gavin Rogers, and also if Christopher Norris can get by Rogers, Hall can have either equal to a 1-point advantage over this 75, but with 20 laps to go, it is all down to Hunter if he's going to give a bumper to Gavin Rogers. He already gave 1 tap. Looks like it's a dive bomb move, but still the grip's not there off the exit of the corner to make this pass work.
Yeah, the big opportunity for the 13 is going to be, I think, this corner. They both run the bottom. The 13 seems to roll through the corner ever so slightly better. Eventually, he's going to gas up, and he's either going to get into the back bumper to 75, or he's going to just try and push him out of the way. It seems like down here, the 75 is willing to run that outside line and put the 13 on the bottom. I have to wonder, will the 13 enter high in 1 and 2 eventually, and maybe try and roll to the center and cut underneath them and have a better launch down the straightaway? That might be something that gives him an opportunity to get around him and see what he does in this corner.
Or will he just try to go for a body slam move? I mean, we're getting to that point where this 13's grip levels, the amount of times he's trying to throw it down to the inside, you got a sense the grip's going to fall away at one moment. They're just going to slam into one another. But as this battling's been happening, they've been slowly creeping up on Nick Crawford, who's on old tires, same as Zach Hall. 74 could be the factor that Cedric Hunter's looking for, as Nick Crawford is a teammate of the Snowy Desert Racing team of Zach Hall, Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, and Christopher Norris. At this moment, Rogers is in no man's land. He doesn't want to be in this spot because he's got 3 teammates surrounding him, and they might try to work together to hold back this 75.
And the 75, he's going to try and do whatever he can to get away from the 13. He opens up a slight gap in front of the 13. You have to wonder how much abuse has happened to those tires on the 13, and now is he going to have a problem where maybe he loses a spot to the 16 of Joshua Kanata after battling so hard to try and get around the 75 by running that inside line.
Where can you go to make these big moves, as we're now 15, going to be 14 laps to go as Zach Hall crosses the line? And these drivers have been on top of one another. This has been great racing action. But there are a few drivers further on back that are having some pretty good days. After a couple of spins, got to give credit to 12th place runner in the 12 machine, Andrew Medlin, up 10 spots. One of our biggest movers of the night. He just got by Brian P. Johnson and is running quick enough to keep pace with the 70 machine of Aaron Smith II as they're trying to catch up and get by Larry Yingling, as that's 2 of our 4 championship 6 drivers that are looking to maybe finish outside the top 10 after tonight's race, and they didn't get big stage bonus points. So they are going to be in the biggest hole heading into Las Vegas next week if the race ends now where we are currently. But it's Brian P. Johnson. He is falling back quickly. Now back to 13th place under pressure from Chris Stick.
It's similar to what happened last week at Richmond. So right now we're learning that Brian P. Johnson's just not having the best of long runs on these back-to-back short tracks, and it's just kind of not ideal for how he wants that season to come to a close. Gonna have to try and get some good strength next week at Vegas, which we expected to run up front there for certain. But right now, just not having that long run speed, Sam.
Not having it at all, but if we're gonna have an issue, it might come around the 7th place position. Joshua Kanata also going to be having Douglas Newbegin. They've been closing in on one another. Also, the lap car of Ryan Kelly is starting to close in with the likes of the gate machine of Brian McCann. A couple of positions still open for grabs here for our 7th, 8th, and 9th place. As the 3 once again in the middle of some of these positional battles. And you're seeing Douglas Newbegin trying to work on the inside groove, kind of similar to what we saw from Cedric Hunter. There's just no power on the inside. You're stuck unless you have extremely better tire wear early in a run.
Yeah, it's just so hard to pass down there. Now you start to understand why in the past NASCAR would sometimes throw that sticky goo down on the bottom lanes and try and give those drivers a little bit of extra grip. Just so hard with the way these newer cars are. They carry so much speed through the center of the corners that it makes it hard to be able to ride that inside like they were able to do so easily back in the day.
As this battle continues on, the battle for 3rd place is now underway. Crawford has been caught, and you can see it's just behind this grouping as lap traffic could be a factor here in the final 2 to 3 laps of this race for Zach Hall. But for 3rd position, Crawford, he's got a mission. That's to hold back Gavin Rogers, maybe give a chance for Cedric Hunter and Christopher Norris to get by this 75. But Crawford is staying high, trying to do a little bit of aero blocking to hold back the 75 machine from getting any good runs for himself. And wherever Rogers' front nose goes, that's where the rear bumper that Crawford wants to place himself.
Yeah, if anything, he's going to protect that outside and do what the 75 did to the 13, make you pass on that inside and heat the tires up, and then hopefully the 74 is thinking he's going to be able to pull away. But coming to 6 laps to go, I mean, these drivers are going to be fighting for every point. They're going to come down and say, next week, man, if I could have just got that 1 point, that 1 position, that might have been a difference. But right now, the 13, he's battling as hard as he can to get around the 75. But up front, there's no competition in sight for Zach Hall. A driver who in the beginning of this race...
Brian Noel, trouble for the 07. He'll stay down into the grass. He's trying to head his way into pit road as Hall's able to get by. We stay green at this moment as Noel still stays on the apron. He's trying to get into pit road, and he will get into the pit entry, so we'll stay green for at this moment. 4, about to be 3 laps to go. And that one scary moment for Hall, because if a caution breaks out here late, whatever the leader does, the field's doing the opposite.
Zach Hall had to be jumping up and down saying, please no caution. And luckily, no caution. Brian Noel able to get it off track. But coming to 2 to go, he's just going to want to see that white flag, and he'll feel really good, Sam. Really good he's going to feel when he comes out of the corner next time by. Still got to get by this 1 more lap.
A long 20 seconds is what Hall is feeling underneath them. Cross the line, 2 laps to go. The battle for 3rd place is still underway. Gavin Rogers yet to be able to make a pass or even set up a move to get by that 74. Hunter is going to be trying another attempt to the inside groove. But for Zach Hall, 1 more time around, he looks up to the flag stand. The white flag is waving. This race is official. The start of the race, it was horrendous. Didn't get the launch he was hoping for, but ever since taking that lead position, Zach Hall, the veteran, fighting still for his first ever championship, is setting himself in the best position heading to Las Vegas next week. Hall wins the first race of the championship round for season 9.
Zach Hall gets it done. Wow. After that restart, we weren't sure in the beginning of the race, did Gavin Rogers have the better car? But now the 32 showed it. He did it with right side tires at the end. I can't wait to talk to him and ask him exactly how he got it done. But wow, what a run for the 32. Goes on and gets the win, gets the pole. Big time for him.
Over 140, maybe even over 150 laps were put on the left side tires, 95 laps on the right, and he got the clean air. He hit his marks, and no one could stay with him. Zach Hall, winner here at North Wilkesboro, the first race of 2 in this round. He's going to have a good footing going forward, but it's a small margin with Rogers finishing 4th, and with the bonus points, I think Hall might only have maybe 2 points advantage over that 75. It's still a margin. It's one that you love to have heading into a track that's all going to come down for a championship. Congratulations to Zach Hall. Also to Vincent Sora in 2nd, 3rd being Nick Crawford. I know for us, we're going to step away. When we come back, we're going to talk to our top 3. They entered tonight as drivers that were equal for our Championship 6. They all had 0 points, and it was all about who could grab the most entering into next week. And top of the board here tonight with the most momentum, got to be feeling good. We had to Victory Lane to talk to your North Wilkesboro winner. We got the 32 of Zach Hall with us. Zach, I mean, you grabbed the pole. You didn't lead lap number 1. It took you a while to finally get to that top position, but once you did, you never looked back. How are you feeling after race 1 of 2 of the championship round being done? And you're the driver heading to Victory Lane.
This is everything, man. This means a lot to me. We had the worker tell off for that one too. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Just the pole lap, that was an amazing qualifying run. I had a feeling it was going to be pretty good. I was watching them guys see if they could get close, and I think I had a little bit in my back pocket with being able to run that high line that a lot of people figured out during the race. But yeah, I was kicking myself on that initial start because I thought the green was going to come out much later in the zone, and it came out like before our restart zone. I forgot that's how it works here at North Wilkesboro. It always comes out really early on that first green flag. And it caught me off guard, and I was kicking myself because I felt like I had enough pace just to stay there with Gavin. I knew if I was in front of him with the clean air, just your car drives so differently. It's crazy to say that at a short track, but as soon as you get clean air, it's like a different car out there. And yeah, I'm played the strategy, took 2 tires, saw Doug do it, and I was like, you know what? I got to get myself ahead of these guys somehow, because I kept getting trapped on the bottom of restarts, and I was like, man, I got to do something different to put myself in ahead of these people, and it seemed to work out, man. I can't believe that's a big win right there.
Zach, it was an awesome race for us to watch, and you kind of answered every question I was going to ask you on just how you were able to do it on those old tires, but you answered it, so let's just go. Tell me, we talked about it up here in the booth. We were like, Zach, this is a moment in the race where you're going to look back and hope you don't get caught up in a wreck, because it seemed like you were maybe really frustrated down on that inside line, and you did a great job of not losing your cool. So just walk us through. It was like right after the stage, you just seemed like you got stuck on the inside, a couple of restarts in a row, you fell back to almost 5th or 6th, and you were battling hard. What did you do in the car just to keep calm?
Personally, a lot of talking to myself, if anything. Yeah, I definitely got frustrated when I was there. I know y'all probably could see it like in the car. I was just trying to make the bottom work, and because I know if you get these guys ahead of you, it's going to be so hard to pass. Like this place is almost impossible to pass. It really, really is, because both lines work so well that like really wherever you put yourself, the person on the outside, the inside can kind of really control you. So I was definitely down in the dumps right there, because I was watching, people get put in between me and Gavin, and I felt like the more that got put in between us, that it was going to be a big issue to get back up there. But I kind of pep talked myself during one of those yellows and was like, look, don't do your old Zach and break down right now. You cannot break down. You got to focus forward. You got a long race left, and put our head to it. And man, I came out and won this thing.
I mean, Zach, you did win it with this win. You were now the 4th driver to have 3 wins this season. Crazy stat to look at. What does this make you feel, though, heading into a 1.5 mile track where we've seen you have success in the past? We've seen some chaotic races with this style of car at that course. What is the mentality trying to build up for that type of a race, knowing that you've only have a 3-point buffer over Gavin Rogers and just a 7-point buffer over the likes of Vincent Sora heading to that race for a championship?
Yeah, that's the big question, Sam. I feel like in the past I've been good at Las Vegas, and personally this season my 1.5 game has been kind of upped. I feel like I could have won a few. I just seemed like they slipped away with either yellows or just bad moves from myself, putting myself in the wrong position. So I think Las Vegas will be a good one for us, but just got to go there and prepare, man. I prepared pretty well this week for this track. Put some practice in last night, and got a little gauge off it with me and Cedric racing each other, and I felt pretty good from that. So I think we're going to try to do the same thing at Las Vegas. I think the biggest and first and foremost thing is like, got to go out there and qualify good. With the stage points there is here available to you, you got to go out there and qualify good, because if you don't qualify good, you're probably going to be getting mid-pack stage points, if that. So I definitely want to put myself for a shot for at least top 3 stage points, so like I don't lose the lead through that situation. There's also a bonus point for pole, so that's good. I got that tonight. But man, I tell you, it's gonna take a perfect race next week. I know 3 points, some people will look at it and say, oh man, that's a good gap, but that's not enough with these guys. These guys are all great drivers, so gonna have to really put it all together next week, and hopefully for the first time ever I can be a champion.
Well, Zach, it was awesome to call and watch you work through adversity here tonight. Congratulations on the win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
First off, shout out to all my teammates, Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, and Christopher Norris. Big helps. Those guys are all throughout the race. Just, we're just bouncing ideas off each other. So gotta really shout those guys out for being there for me all these times. Then also I just want to give y'all a shout out, of course, up in the booth for all the work y'all do week in and week out. It's been a long season, and I hope it closes out well, and I know you guys will do an amazing job closing it. So thank you for everything y'all do. Thank you to TrophySmack.com, our amazing fantasy football sponsor. We'll be getting that trophy. Hopefully myself will be sending it to my address, I hope and pray. But we'll hopefully see that. So thank you again to Trophy Smack. And then also shout out to my girlfriend Caitlin out there watching. She's always a big supporter, and maybe this time I can get it done for her.
We're hoping for the best for you, Zach. But for tonight, start on the right foot. Congratulations on grabbing the pole and the win here this evening. Enjoy it, and good luck preparing for next week's championship race.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that will be Zach Hall again, 4th driver this season to get his third win this season. Crazy stat. one of those drivers was hoping to get his 4th win potentially this season. He'll finish in 2nd, is the 51 of Vincent Sora. Vinny, 2nd place here tonight, but man, you had moments where you looked like you were the fastest car out there on track. How are you feeling coming away 2nd and ultimately 3rd in points after the night's over?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm still a little disappointed though with how things went tonight. Just you have to be perfect in this last round, and I feel like I was kind of far from it tonight. I messed up my quali lap, and then I didn't get as many stage points because it's just nearly impossible to make a pass here after 15, 20 laps. But I felt like I had good speed whenever we went green. It's like I said, it's just so hard. And then, I kind of got caught out on a yellow there, and some guys checked up, and then I checked up, and we just kind of bottlenecked, and I went around. But yeah, with the fresh tires, I kind of soared through the field pretty quickly, and then I had some right front damage that I didn't fix, and it caused my car to plow. But yeah, I mean, I have to take a P2 and be happy with it because I could have been out of the race when I spun, but I'm 7 points back off of the lead going into this next round. And honestly, I think if I don't have a perfect stage and almost a perfect race, that I have no shot.
Well, Vincent, I mean, you got the 2nd, so we're happy there for you. Like you said, you're not the happiest, but you're somewhat happy getting 2nd. Gives you that 7-point difference going into next week. I mean, obviously your goal is going to be go out there, lead the most laps, get the bonus points, and try and get the stage win, get all the points you can there. And then how do you feel just going into Las Vegas, being a mile and a half, and knowing that you've been a driver all year who's been one to watch each week?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we went to Vegas in the next gen, I dominated the race, and with like 2 to go, I got moved out of the way. So I feel really good. Vegas is one of my best tracks on iRacing, and I feel like I'm really good on the mile and a half. I got to figure out qualifying. It's been my weakness all year, and stage racing is one of my least favorite things. And when you don't qualify good, it's super hard to get the stage points you need. So I don't know. I got some work to do. I need to get some good stage points next week and do what I do.
And we know that that's getting yourself up front and going for these wins. I mean, Vinny, for this season, how would you capitalize or bring together this season for yourself heading into a championship race where there is a lot of pressure to, again, run a perfect race?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some of the best guys here in this league, and we show it week in and week out. We have so many different winners, and really on any given track, you don't know who's gonna be the best, and strategy comes into play. And yeah, man, I don't know. I've had a pretty good season so far. I feel like I've had some slip away from me, and it could have been better, but I mean, I have the best average finish and everything. So I still have to be really proud of what I've got, and I need to excel under pressure. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at doing next week, and hopefully go get another title.
Well, Vinny, tonight, I know, again, didn't get those stage bonus points you were hoping for, but still an incredible finish in 2nd place. Enjoy that, and good luck next week racing for that championship.
Thank you, boys. Have a good one.
As Vincent Sora has been looking great so far this season, other drivers that are hoping for some good runs are drivers that are no longer in the championship hunt, but just have been there to play their own spoils of trying to get a victory lane. We got Nick Crawford with us, 3rd place finisher here tonight. Nick, at one moment you were right there, almost having a chance to race with Vinny and go for that 2nd place position. You were holding back others. What was it like for yourself, though, there late, knowing you got Cedric Hunter, Gavin Rogers, Christopher Norris bearing down on you with those fresher tires?
It was a little bit difficult just trying to run the right line through in each corner. I was pretty committed to the bottom in turns 1 and 2, but once I saw them getting closer, I just went to the defensive line. Really just teammate racing, because there's no way I was going to get anywhere near Zach. He was way too fast tonight, and then Vinny was just super fast by the time he caught me, and I think he had a little bit fresher tires, but he definitely had a lot better of a drive for this racetrack. I didn't really have enough practice, so it was really just teammate racing at the end there, defensive driving more than anything.
And Nick, congrats on getting that 3rd place finish tonight. I mean, you got to feel good there, run up inside the top 5 this late into the race, and you held your own too for about that last 100 laps. And is it something that you think you can bring over next week, Las Vegas? Think you get yourself that win, close out the season as strong as ever at Vegas?
I would hope so. I'm not too optimistic about it. Everybody's really good at Vegas. It's one of those tracks that everyone can be fast at. I just really don't like this car. I'm ready to be done with it. But if the strategy and cautions are wacky, there's a chance. But on raw speed, I don't think so. But we're going to run it and help our teammates the best we can. So we'll see, I guess.
We can't wait to see how you're going to perform next week, Nick. But this season certainly has been a long one. How has it been for you personally, though, racing with the type of competition that we've had? And I know tonight didn't show it, but having such large fields almost each and every week, how has it been for yourself to get to this point of the season with just one more race to go?
It's good and bad. This car can take a lot of hits. It's pretty durable, but that also adds to how aggressive people are with this car. There's not a lot of downforce or side force to save you in incidents, so there's a lot of accidents. It's not really a fun car for me, but I really enjoy racing with my friends and teammates, so that's probably the only reason I'm here. But hopefully there's some changes to the car soon, or I just have an epiphany at some point. But it's good when you're winning, and it sucks when you're not.
Ain't that true? Well, Nick, congratulations on a top 3 finish. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Of course, I got to shout out my beautiful wife. Also, it is Mexican Heritage Month, so Viva Mexico. Shout out to my teammates. They're awesome as ever. Shout out to the admins for the league, and you guys for putting on a great show.
Well, thanks for giving us such a great show to call. That will be your 3rd place finisher here tonight in the 74 machine of Nick Crawford. Congratulations on a top 3 finish here, Nick, and good luck next week at Las Vegas.
Thanks, guys.
As we move along, we're just going to do our top 3 tonight as we will take a look at our unofficial results here this evening as the WSSR Season 9 is coming to a conclusion. Crazy to think, as this season is just in a blink of an eye has blown on through, as we've seen so many different winners, but once again our 4th different driver to have 3 wins this season. Zach Hall takes that crown here tonight as he will get his 3rd win. Then also in 2nd we have Vincent Sora. 3rd is Nick Crawford. 4th is Gavin Rogers, who's going to be 2nd in points after tonight, just 3 points behind Zach Hall entering Las Vegas, with Cedric Hunter 5th. 6th is Christopher Norris, Brian McCann 7th, 8th is Joshua Kanata, with Larry Yingling 9th, and Douglas Newbegin, with all of his strategy moments, comes away with a top 10 finish here this evening.
Aaron Smith's in 11th. Quiet night out of him, but got the 11th place finish. How about Andrew Medlin coming back for 12th after some of the issues he had? Chris Stitz, nice quiet night there in 13th. Cody Reed fought back from his earlier trouble. Ken Campbell had the qualifying down, but didn't get the good race going in. Brian P. Johnson, that surprise driver, he was running up inside the top 2 at one point, similar to last week at Richmond. Fails to finish inside the top 15, back down there to 16th. Brian Noel, we had that tire lockup we saw there. Ryan Kelly back in 18th, had the loose condition coming out of the corner, led to the incident. Ben Keeney, GT Arizari, Christopher Wade, Danny Cochran, all drivers not having the finishes they want. Sam, next week we're all going to get it done. Las Vegas, catch us here 1 week tonight. See who's going to walk away with this championship.
Mathematically, all 6 drivers are still in the hunt, but the driver you see on screen has got the advantage. Zach Hall, 3 points over Gavin Rogers, 7 points over Vincent Sora, 11 points over Cedric Hunter, 12 points over Larry Yingling, and 23 points back from Zach Hall is Brian P. Johnson. Just the merest of margins, but these drivers, they put it all out there on the line, and we see that each and every week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As for us here this week, we're almost done with it, as we had to take last night off. We are back to seeing all these drivers back on track. It's gonna be a fun one. You don't want to miss tomorrow night, though. If you love watching super speedway racing and next gen racing, we're gonna be at Daytona tomorrow night for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, as there are multiple teams that look strong. Alliances I don't think are made, so we're going to be seeing some drivers dogfighting to be that top team up front. You don't want to miss tomorrow night. And then we're also back more coverage on Monday night for the ISRC Truck Series. We have the regular season finale next Tuesday for the Challenger Racing Series. And then we're right back here next week to crown a champion for the season 9 of the WSSR Cup Series. We have seen a lot of great racing overall throughout these last couple of weeks, but WSSR, crazy to think we could be seeing ourselves with a brand new champion or a repeat one. Will it be the veteran with the most starts, Zach Hall? Could it be Vincent Sora getting his 3rd championship? Or could it be the rookie of Gavin Rogers? I mean, Justin, there's a lot of storylines out there, but next week is a don't miss type of a race.
And it's also on a track that will allow these drivers to race side by side with definitely the ability to pass on the inside or the outside or the middle. It's going to be a great track, Las Vegas. Plus, we'll have some tire wear. We'll have tons of great strategy.
We certainly will. And it all comes down here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting next Wednesday night. But for tonight, we want to say thank you to everyone that joined with us watching the first race of this championship round. Only 2 races. Next week's the last one. But it's Zach Hall who exits North Wilkesboro with the win and the points lead heading into Vegas next week. Also want to say thank you to Trophy Smack. If you haven't already checked out TrophySmack.com, well, they got you covered if you're looking for a fantasy football or fantasy sports trophy or just a trophy in general. They've got belts, trophies, rings, and more. Head on over to TrophySmack.com. They've got other products such as a Wall Smack, which is a metal plate they can place on your wall with their wall safe magnet system, as well as stands you can put on your shelf or desk of your liking. Remember, when purchasing, use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off. But for tonight, thank you so much for joining with us. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we appreciate those that got to view, chat, and those that were just lurking around. We enjoyed your presence as well. If you enjoyed our broadcast we handed off to you, remember to hit that like button down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Hit the bell notification button to be notified when we go live, because we are live 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. We cannot wait to see you on our next Freaky Fast broadcast. But for this evening, Zach Hall takes away the win, his 3rd of the season. Can he grab number 4 and hoist his first championship next week at Vegas? Well, you have to tune in next Wednesday night. But if you can't wait until then to see more racing action, well, we got you covered tomorrow night. We get to see the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, Daytona Super Speedway pack action. Who's going to make it for a victory? Don't want to miss it. It's going to be a fun one for tomorrow night for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.